On this week's edition of the Political Stock Exchange, we look at that one question that's been uppermost in the minds of voters in the capital as also outside the capital. What should Kejriwal do? Should he resign? Has he been arrested as an act of political vendetta, or has he been arrested because people think he's actually corrupt? So this is the first time we'll try and put some data based on the opinion of voters to the questions that have been swirling in the air since the time the Delhi Chief Minister was arrested. Let me take the first question on this week's edition of the Political Stock Exchange. This is data by the polling agency C-Voter. I want to go across and show you. Remember, every response set in this particular edition of the PSE is based on two parts. The first part deals with responses in the capital, and the second part deals with responses pan-India. So its first part just gives you a sense of the mood in the capital, and the second part gives you the national picture. So here's the first question. What do you make of Kejriwal's arrest? Why do you think he's been arrested? 47.8% of the Delhi voters think he's been arrested because he was corrupt, because of an act of corruption. That is, if you're an AAP supporter, a very alarming number. 48% of the respondents say he's been arrested because they actually think that there is a linkage to corruption. How many people think this is because Prime Minister Modi and his government have a vindictive policy towards the opposition? 30% of the respondents, 3 in 10, say it's because the Modi government is vindictive towards the opposition. The AAP says it's because Kejriwal is emerging as a real threat to the BJP and to Prime Minister Modi. That's the response of only 16.3% of the respondents. Now, interestingly, naturally, when you look within opposition voters, those who think he's been arrested because of corruption is much lesser, only 17.1. Opposition voters, 50% of them think he's been arrested because Modi government is vindictive. 30% think because he's emerging as a threat to Modi. Amongst NDA voters, naturally, there's an anti-Kejriwal skew. So that's the Delhi picture. Now, let's look at the pan-India picture. On your screen now, responses outside Delhi. 38.8% of overall respondents, pan-India, think he's been arrested because of corruption. And this is what I find intriguing. At this moment, according to the C-Voter data, there are 10% extra people in Delhi who think he's been arrested because of corruption than they are outside. The outside number is 39%. In Delhi, the number is 48%. So that's a gap, which means his perception, according to this data, in the capital on the issue of corruption is worse than it is outside India. 32% think it's because Modi government follows a vindictive policy against the opposition, and 19% think Kejriwal is emerging as a threat to Prime Minister Modi. So interestingly, on all these responses, there's a slight difference, with the biggest difference being that more people in Delhi think that it's because of corruption than those outside. Outside, the image is more favorable than it is in the capital. With that first response, let me introduce you to our panelist. Yashwant Deshmukh has a lot of answering to do on these numbers. He's the lead cephalogist, founder, director at C-Voter. It's his team that did these numbers for us. So Yashwant, welcome. With us also is Jasmine Shah, Chief National Spokesperson of the Aam Aadmi Party. Welcome back, Jasmine, once again. Shazia Ilmi knows a thing or two about the Aam Aadmi Party. She's a part of the movement, the party, and now National Spokesperson of the Bharatiya Janata Party. Representing the Congress in Delhi is its spokesperson, Mudit Agarwal. And political analyst, author Amitabh Tiwari is with us as well. Yashwant Deshmukh, what I find interesting is that in Delhi, 48% of the respondents think Kejriwal overall has been arrested because of corruption. Outside Delhi, in the HSM markets where you did this poll, 39% say he's been arrested because of corruption. A simple reading of that data suggests at this moment, more people in the capital seem to think he's corrupt or he's been arrested because of actual corruption than those outside. That seems quite counterintuitive.
Yeah, that's right. That number actually caught my attention as well. But I then realized that Delhi electorate is actually more polarized on him than the electorates outside Delhi. So there is a significant number of anti-Kejriwal, pro-Congress vote in Delhi, Rahul. Let's not forget that. Delhi is a triangular contest city, and Congress has been fighting tooth and nail with Kejriwal as well, even though they have gone ahead with the India alliance. but there are significant number of Congress voters, and not to mention the Congress leaders.
Amitabh Tiwari, is there easy transferability between AAP and Congress in Delhi? They've come together in alliance in the last Lok Sabha, and I'll have that data up on your screen. The BJP is already 50% plus. So now that these two parties, which have fought each other, the Congress hardcore voter doesn't like AAP because the AAP government has been formed on top of the Congress. They basically demolished the Congress and come to power. In a Lok Sabha context, do you see transferability happen easily, or do you think it will be very complex to ensure transferability, even though the leaders have decided that seats can be distributed?
It's going to be complex, because if it was an easy transferability in that way, Rahul, then you know, the numbers of votes that Congress polls in assembly elections, a number of votes which Aam Aadmi polls in the Lok Sabha election would have been big zero.
So you're saying that transferability is complex. Amitabh Tiwari, my question to you is, does Kejriwal's arrest make it tougher for Congress voters to vote AAP? Do you see that play out or not really?
See, I don't think transferability is tougher because of the high percentage of swing voters in Delhi. I mean, voters are swinging between a Vidhan Sabha and a Lok Sabha election. Even in the chart, if you see, 13% voters go back to Congress in a Lok Sabha election, and 18% of that portion, almost all of them, return to the Aam Aadmi Party in the Vidhan Sabha election, because Aam Aadmi Party has grown at the expense of Congress. SC, minority, OBC voters, Punjabi, Khatri voters have shifted.
Let me just explain that data that you're talking about, the swing of voters from one party to the other on the screen. What Amitabh Tiwari is referring to is how there seems to be a high level of transferability between BJP voters in a Lok Sabha election and AAP voters in an assembly election. Now, how do we say this? So basically, if you look at the 2019 Lok Sabha elections and compare them with the 2015 assembly elections, AAP lost 36% vote. The Congress gained 13%. So 13% people who didn't vote for Congress in the Lok Sabha came back to the Congress. The BJP gained 25% of the vote. 25% extra vote over where they were in the last assembly election. The biggest loser was the Aam Aadmi Party. This is what happened in the 2019 Lok Sabha election. This is the last Lok Sabha election. Cut to 2020, the assembly election. There suddenly, and it almost seems it's usually not 36 down, 36 up. The transferability is never as obvious and as apparent. But in this case it is. They went down 36%. Suddenly the Aam Aadmi Party is up 36%. And this gain comes almost equally from the Congress, which is losing 18% of people who voted for them in Lok Sabha have now gone to AAP, and 18% of BJP voters, this orange bar, voted for the Aam Aadmi Party. So that essentially shows how votes have got transferred from the Congress and the BJP to the AAP in assembly context. But currently we're focusing on the Lok Sabha, which is where AAP goes down, Congress comes up. Just marginally, the biggest beneficiary, of course, is the BJP at 25. I want to go across to Jasmine Shah of the Aam Aadmi Party. His response to the first question. I hope you won't debunk the data itself, because data is, to be taken at face value, and sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. At this moment, in response to the first question, what should concern you as an AAP leader is that 49% of the voters in Delhi think that he's been arrested because of corruption. Outside Delhi, the response is 39%. So that, is quite stark, that somehow at this moment in the context of a Lok Sabha election, the mood is not as pro as it is outside, or the mood is not as anti outside India as it is in Delhi.
Rahul, I'm not going to debunk the data, but I will definitely share an alternate perspective, because we have been meeting people on the ground. We have been mobilizing for the mega rally of India Alliance on 31st, and there is an outpouring of sympathy. There is an outpouring of support for Arvind Kejriwal and AAP, and many BJP voters, because these are many BJP or Modi voters who vote for Mr. Modi in Lok Sabha, but they vote for Arvind Kejriwal and they've benefited from his policies. And to know that a sitting CM is put behind bars in a case where trial is not even begun, where there is no evidence, not a single rupee of money trail, but at the same time money trail is found in BJP's accounts through a approver whose name is Sharat Chandra Reddy, which I'm sure BJP spokesperson will never respond to. So people know that there is a kind of a tamasha going on. The reason why this, and I actually request you, Rahul, that you carry out this poll a week again and you will see drastically different reason, because this khulasa of Sharat Chandra Reddy and the real scam in the so-called Delhi liquor policy was not during the policy. It was after ED raided many people, got them to become approvers and then extorted money from them and put them into their account through electoral bonds. Now, the question that you asked, the reason why maybe, and this is my hypothesis, Rahul, see, over the last 2 years, there has been a continuous propaganda exercise by the BJP. In the name of the liquor policy, what have they been doing? Summon issue karo. The moment ED issues summon, it is on the front pages of Delhi. So the propaganda machinery is hyperactive for the last 2 years. They are not hyperactive to spread the works of Mr. Modi, but they are hyperactive to assassinate the perception, to assassinate the character of Aam Aadmi Party and Arvind Kejriwal. But at the end of the day, when the matter goes to trial, and I would say even before that, because the Sharat Chandra Reddy matter has just come out, and the manner in which people are reacting to these hard facts, these are not allegations. A kingpin of this so-called Delhi scam has not given any money to AAP, but has donated 55 crores to BJP after arrest and after being released on bail by the ED. So, you know, sometimes it's the truth is white and black, and it's all come out a few days back, and we will see it, play out in public perception also.
I want to take this next question. Has Kejriwal's image as an honest politician been damaged by these charges and by his arrest? What do respondents say to this question? I'll show you the Delhi data first. In Delhi, and this is where Shazia Ilmi has a big smile on her face, 56% of the overall respondents, 60% of the NDA voters, and even 50% of opposition voters. 50% of opposition voters say yes, Kejriwal's image has been hurt by these charges. Look at the national numbers now. So outside Delhi in the HSM markets, the national numbers, 51% of the overall voters, 49.3% of opposition voters, and 53.9% of NDA voters. See, NDA voters naturally are going to say, "Ha, bhai, image kharab hogi." The problem here, and which is where, Jasmine refers to the propaganda machine of the BJP and how they've been at it with this charge, it seems to be hitting home. 49.3% Shazia of opposition voters all India, and in Delhi 50.5% of opposition voters seem to think that this has indeed hurt Kejriwal's image as an honest politician.
Yes, this and more. So this all this started also when Manish Sisodia and after him Sanjay Singh got arrested. But even before that, when Satyendra Jain was arrested, and that whole PWD scam and all that and what have you. So this has been going on for a while, and there have been many charges against many of the MLAs. Now, but here's the real deal. And I think Delhi is the epicenter of Arvind Kejriwal's politics, of Aam Aadmi Party. This is where it began. It started with Jhadu, and it seems to be ending with Daru. So I really think that when 48% and 56%, respectively, answers to two different questions, when people believe that Kejriwal and the charges are sticking, that Kejriwal is corrupt and the charge is sticking, there is a lot of thinking to do. Now, confusing electoral bonds with kickbacks is again a very silly strategy and will not work, because all that is post facto. Electoral bonds, we all know, are different, and this is an investigation into excise policy, or the Sharab Ghotala, as we call it. Now, here the facts and figures are for everybody to see. Arvind may throw Manish Sisodia and Sanjay Singh under a bus and say, "Oh, a lot of people used to come to my residence of CM, and I don't know anything about it." But the fact of the matter is that whether it's a Sessions Court or the High Court or Supreme Court, Manish Sisodia has not got bail. Satyendra Jain has not got bail. Sanjay Singh has not got bail. Whereas opposition leaders are concerned, all of them have got bail, starting from Tejasvi Yadav to Chidambaram to all others. So there is something to be said here about the courts and their function.
Okay, now Jasmine Shah.
Let me finish.
Okay, go on.
10 seconds more. And the fact of the matter is that it's very easy to confuse the issue and talk about something that happened de facto. The whole case is not based on Sharat Reddy alone. There is C. Arvind, who was Manish Sisodia's PA. There is Samir Mahindra, the wholesale person, wholesaler, who got the L1 contract in this, and all the retailers, and many testimonies and 14 arrests. So it is a bit more complicated than, than pretending to throw it under the carpet and say, oh, push it under the carpet and say, oh, it's all about some Sharath Reddy and electoral bonds.
Okay,
it's not really connected.
Jasmine Shah, even if I ignore all the NDA voters, just leave them for the moment. In Delhi, 50.5% of opposition voters seem to think that Kejriwal's image is an honest, because the whole thing was based on imandari, on honesty. That his image, halo as an honest politician has been damaged. Even the opposition voters seem to be telling our pollster this.
Rahul, so I'm not going to, attack this data, but I do not agree with it, and that's what I will say that, because this is definitely not the perception in large segments of the population, and these are the people who have been witnessing this sham of a scam investigation that is going on. Shazia today here can come and say that, "Arey, aapko bail nahi mili," but the question is, evidence kahan hai? Not a single rupee of money trail, not a single evidence, and there is no parallel in Indian history or maybe even in any respectful democracy that you put sitting politicians, national leaders behind jail without any evidence. Trial has not begun, चार्जशीट भी फाइल नहीं हुई है, लेकिन एक साल से आप जेल में डाल रहे हो. Why? Because you have made the ED and the PMLA कानून so draconian. It was actually meant, Rahul, to fight narcotics and terrorists. Now today tell me, can Shazia name one drug smuggler or terrorist that is in the jail because of ED? No, she will not have any answer. But if you ask how many Vipaks ke politicians are under jail, Misuse Sisodia, Arvind Kejriwal. So the purpose here is very clear. And why should we not ask you questions on Sharath Reddy? Sharath Reddy donated. It was the statement of Sharath Reddy on the basis of which Arvind Kejriwal has been arrested. And this Sharath Reddy, it turns out, he is a donor of BJP. Rahul, you should ask the question, how can you take money from a kingpin of the Sharab Ghotala, make him give a statement, and then arrest the sitting chief minister?
Okay, let Shazia Ilmi respond to this, because this is an important question. The man and the viewers also need to understand this, on whose testimony Kejriwal has been arrested, or is a part of the reason that he's been arrested.
No, that is not true, Rahul. You're misinformed.
It is part of the reason.
It's Rahul, you're misinformed.
No, Sharath Reddy. Look, let me frame my question and then you respond. Part of the reason that he's been arrested is because the head of Aurobindo Pharma, who's part of the so-called South lobby, who claimed that he paid AAP leaders, including Kejriwal, he was actually one of the accused. He's now turned approver, and Kejriwal and AAP lawyers are asking in court that if somebody is under duress and facing charges, you get a confession out of him, you can get him to say anything, and he can say, "Maine diya Kejriwal ko paisa." Respond to what Jasmine Shah said.
But पैसा दिया बीजेपी को.
Let's say Sharath Reddy talking about
55 crore बीजेपी को दिया, वो भी arrest होने के बाद.
So how do you explain the loss to the exchequer of excise when the sales and consumption went up? How do you explain the increase of commission to the wholesaler to Indo Spirits from 6% to 12%? How do you explain 185% jump of profiteering to private players? How do you expect?
So Shazia, that's as far as the liquor policy is concerned. No, ma'am, you're answering a different question. Just hear what I'm saying. Shazia ji,
I'm not able to speak.
Shazia ji, just listen to my question. No, once again, just listen.
He has no answer.
Ma'am, listen to my question.
You're doing this again and again.
Shazia ji, आप मेरा सवाल सुनिए. Just listen to my question. You are not. No. My question is this. Just allow me to ask my question so that you answer the correct question. Now, after all these charges have been leveled, this particular liquor baron pharma giant goes out and buys electoral bonds, which are all for the BJP. Before that, yes, you haven't come to this. After his arrest, he's only buying bonds for the BJP. Before his arrest, he's buying for others as well. Respond to this. Yes, Shazia.
I'm answering that. That's exactly what I was going to answer. This is waste of footage in all the time. I was going to say exactly that. So electoral bonds are legit. They were struck as unconstitutional only a few weeks back. Electoral bonds are legit and they cannot be compared to kickbacks, which is actually the main allegation in this excise policy, liquor policy scandal. So let's not confuse the two. And even if he has, let's say that post facto, he was scared and he ended up buying it and he became informer. Let me tell you, which is exactly what I was trying to tell you, that the entire case is not based on one man's evidence. CM Arvind was Misuse Sisodia's PA. The chief secretary was the one who flagged the issue. There were Congress leaders who flagged it and brought and talked about the irregularities of the case. So post facto, somebody can give money through electoral bonds, which is actually money given through a check to the State Bank of India. So let's not confuse. ये जो रायता फैलाने की और जलेबी और इमरती बनाने की आदत है ना, please, none of us will be fooled by that.
Okay.
So the fact of the matter is that this is very different. Electoral bonds are different from rishwat khori, commission khori.
No, but it is intriguing. It
on
is.
The basis of which,
Shazia ji, yours. No, one second, Shazia ji.
This is about this is K Kavita.
The fact is, before he's arrested, he's buying bonds for. He's buying bonds across parties. After arrest, he's buying bonds only for one party. Now, boss, I think that speaks for itself. People will form their own opinion on that.
Ask that. Agreed, you can ask that question, but you'll have to answer, right? You'll have to answer the question of what was Vijay Nair doing with Samir Mahindra calling up Arvind Kejriwal? Why is K. Kavita and the South Lobby there? Why was the policy made to tweak profiteers?
Okay.
Why was the government thrown under the bus and private vendors made to play? All this happened post facto.
Okay. So what I'll do is we'll set up a separate PSC Yashwant Deshmukh on electoral bonds. I think there is enough meat there. We need to do that separately, but I want to come back to the data because otherwise we'll get caught on electoral bonds and we won't be able to show our viewers all the...
That is what they're trying to do.
All the data sets that we have. I want to come to the next question on what should Kejriwal do now? And I'll show you the responses in Delhi. Should he resign as chief minister? Is it okay for him to run the government from jail? Here are the responses. These are responses, remember, from the capital itself. Here, 47% say overall he should resign. Only 17% of opposition voters who've largely been unforgiving in the first few questions we've put out, only 17% say he should resign. So opposition voters don't think he should resign. 76% of opposition voters are saying, jail se chalao government, don't resign. 76% are saying don't resign. Naturally, amongst NDA voters, 71.2% are saying resign as chief minister. 23% are saying run the government from jail. Here it looks as if it's divided between opposition and government, and that division is very clear. In the first few questions on whether his image has been hurt or why is he been arrested, is it because of corruption, opposition and government, opposition and government voters seem to have different points of view. Okay, now let's look at the all India data on what should Kejriwal do. 44% of overall voters say he should resign. Only 30% of opposition voters, lesser number of opposition voters, like we saw in Delhi, even all India, only 30% of opposition voters say he should resign. 62% of opposition voters say he should run the government from jail. Amongst the NDA voters, of course, it's quite predictable. They want him to go and they don't want him to run the government from jail. I want to go across to Mudit Agarwal from the Congress. You've got an alliance with the Aam Aadmi Party in Delhi. In Punjab, the AAP and the Congress are principal opponents. Does that really make it complicated for people like you? Because you're not quite sure of what position to take. You say something, Lovely says something, Sandeep Dixit says something. And in Punjab, the likes of a Pratap Bajwa and the others have to take a very different position. So the Congress seems caught in a very bad space. And these are states which are very close to each other. Unlike West Bengal and Kerala, which are quite far from each other geographically, Delhi and Punjab are very close to each other in so many ways.
Look, there's no confusion in Congress as to what our stand is. See, as far as Punjab is concerned, we had taken a decision with Aam Aadmi Party because we were number 1 and number 2 party. They'll be better that we fight separately, because if you fight together, you ultimately give space to BJP and Akali to grow there, and that would not be a wise decision to take. Number 2. See, what is very important right now is a couple of things have happened over the last 1 month. One is the issue of electoral bonds, which has completely exposed BJP to be one of the corrupt parties in this whole world. Is the biggest scam which India has seen, number 1. Second, freezing of Congress's accounts, in which basically you are taking away the level playing field and almost crippling Congress financially so that we cannot run a campaign. Third, arrest of CMs, whether it's Mr. Kejriwal or whether it's Hemant Soren. So what people have started really questioning what this Modi government is doing. What people are seeing, and this is reflected in what we talk in the ground. What Jasmine Shah just spoke about, what we are hearing from the ground is very different tones. What people are saying, oh, ye to kuch zyada hi ho raha hai aaj. So these three developments...
Okay, so let Yashwant Deshmukh respond to what Mudit is saying. Even Jasmine said this,
Can I just
the perception that they are picking up, Yashwant Deshmukh...
just complete?
Just 1 second, Mudit. The perception that the likes of Jasmine and Mudit are picking up when they talk to people is that zyada ho raha hai and that this is not right. Your data, even amongst opposition voters, for most questions doesn't reflect that sympathy. So why is there a discord between what you intuitively expect AAP and Congress voters to say and what your data is saying? Why is there a disparity? Yashwant, you're on mute.
So I think...
Rahul, there is no discrepancy in anywhere, because simply what my friends from Congress and Aam Aadmi parties are saying, there is some truth to that element as well. When you ask this question, whether it is being done in the right perspective, whether BJP is doing it for political benefit or vindictiveness, big number of people say yes. But at the same time, same number of people also say that yes, his image has taken a hit. So I don't think people are not looking into this black and white. People are saying, I mean, you know, a big number of even BJP supporters have started to saying that, yes, the ED and the other agencies are being...
So let me show that response now. Let me show that response now. The question is the Modi government misusing central agencies against the opposition? So let's, now suddenly Jasmine is excited. He कहता है ये बताओ, अब देखते हैं क्या बोलते हैं. Okay, so here it is. First I'll show you the responses. I said earlier in Delhi. The response in Delhi is 46% of the voters in Delhi say yes, the Modi government is using central agencies against the opposition. 41.6% say no, they don't see this as being political. Amongst opposition voters, massive skew. 74% say yes, agencies are being misused. No say only 15%. Amongst NDA voters, 62% say no, 25.1% say yes. But the large number, 46.1% say yes, Delhi Modi government is using central agencies against the opposition. Let's now come to the next question. The next question is how this question is perceived in other parts of the country. So is the Modi government using central agencies against the opposition? 49% say yes. You know, this is again interesting. The mood pan-India, slightly more pro-Kejriwal than it is in Delhi. Now, Jasmine Shah and AAP will wonder, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Their voters are here, but the mood is better outside from their perspective. There's more sympathy outside Delhi than there is inside Delhi. No say 36%. And naturally, amongst the opposition voters, 60% say yes, the government is misusing agencies, 25% say no. Now, Shazia Ilmi, you must respond to this. 46% of voters pan-India, 46% of voters in Delhi and 49% of voters pan-India, regardless of political affiliation, seem to think that the Modi government is misusing central agencies against opposition parties and leaders.
So I have a few friends across the parties, and let me be honest with you, I have Congress leaders secretly and Congress voters are secretly very happy, because it is Kejriwal grew, Aam Aadmi Party grew at the expense of Congress, and they've gobbled up the Congress vote share, you know. So I think that where that goes, I'm not surprised at all that there is.
You're trying to get them to fight. Let me ask that question to Mudit. Mudit, Shazia says secretly you are happy.
Not just
is that true? Secretly you are happy that Kejriwal and AAP are in a mess, because ultimately their whole success is based on the Congress's failure.
Know who's a bigger enemy.
Let's understand something about democracy.
Let Mudit respond to that. Is the Congress secretly happy with the mess that Kejriwal finds himself in? Mudit Agarwal.
Congress can never be happy if there's a rise of authoritarian forces in India. We are true Democrats and we stand with democracy. What is happening to India right now, rise of authoritarianism, where people's rights are being taken away, where elected chief ministers are being put in jail, Congress is against it. And we are with the opposition, with India Alliance in an endeavor to throw out this Modi government. You see, the other thing what people are not recognizing it, when you combine all these questions about electoral bond, arresting chief ministers, freezing of accounts, and if you ask people, you will find overwhelmingly that people are against Modi government. Even between NDA voters, you will see whether you ask them whether the Modi government has been vindictive or they are misusing agencies.
Okay.
Anywhere from
So
15
actually,
to 30% people.
I haven't
of
asked that
Indian
question.
voters
We will
are
ask
against their own government in this
we
case.
will ask that question,
That
but
is what is telling.
so far we haven't asked that question. But that again is something we will work on. I want to go across to Amitabh Tiwari. What do you make of 46 versus 42 in Delhi? Is the Modi government misusing agencies? And nationally, 49 versus 36. Yes, say 49. No, say 36. It does suggest that half the voters think that agencies are being misused, but almost half say no, they are not being misused. So how do you interpret this?
So actually the Delhi number is fairly close, but the all India number, there are significantly higher number of people are saying that.
Why is there more sympathy for Kejriwal outside Delhi than there is in Delhi? How do you interpret that?
I think this question is an overall question and not linked to Kejriwal's arrest only.
Sure, yes.
But the fact of the matter is that if this question was asked before Kejriwal's arrest, this may not have been the result, I feel, because it's a battle of narrative eventually. And whatever said and done, the Aam Aadmi Party's messaging, communication, and research is much sharper than all other opposition parties.
Do you think Aam has done a good job? No, one second. Do you think as a political strategist, in the way that they're trying to fight back, do you think they've done a good job, or is BJP winning the battle of narrative?
Oh, see, they are doing a good job. That is clear from the fact that they have raised a point of the electoral bond purchase by an approver, and that is perhaps being reflected in the numbers as well. And even if you see the first question...
No, but do voters understand all these? When show Yashwant also. Suddenly somebody in the middle of the day, you are doing something, somebody from his team calls. At that moment, do they understand this level of complexity, that there's an approver, he's bought bonds for the BJP? Because they understand mota, no, upar. Do they understand this? How many know who's Sharath Reddy, what is Aurobindo Pharma? It's not like it's Pfizer or one of the really big companies like the ones that the Poonawala's run. Do they understand this level of complexity, Amitabh Tiwari, when a poll is being done?
See, because it has been, the Aam Aadmi Party has been hitting this very clearly from day one. It does seem to resonate with the voters, and as I repeat that the Aam Aadmi Party's communication and campaign management is fairly better than...
Yashwant, do you buy that? No, because if what he was saying was true, then so many opposition voters wouldn't be thinking that Kejriwal's image has been hit, that Kejriwal should step down, that this is actually evidence of the fact that he's corrupt. So while Amitabh Tiwari is saying what he is, how do you interpret this? Yashwant Deshmukh.
One line.
Okay. Not every opposition voter is a Kejriwal supporter, Rahul. And not every BJP voter is a Kejriwal hater. Let's understand, because Kejriwal happens to be only phenomena in Indian politics who carries around anti-BJP and anti-Congress votes both along with him. So when you look into the national number, that is also because of the fact that so many of the other opposition leaders have been at the other end of the ED, far end of the ED, across almost all the states. So there is an emotion or sentiment of a big number of opposition voters across the country that their leaders are being targeted. And also the fact, like for example, I heard that just recently that the cases against Mr. Praful Patel, which have been, that case has been stopped in that way. So there is also a narrative of sort, even in sometimes in a very amusing way, that, anybody who is joining the BJP, the cases stop. Anybody who is not joining the BJP is the cases. So this has been going around for quite some time, and it is gaining ground.
Okay, Yasmin Shah, do you accept this theory that this is basically a battle of narratives, because the legal battle will take so long? By the time there's actually a judgment, which ultimately whether it results in conviction or acquittal, we don't know. At this moment, it's about the Lok Sabha elections. After that, the assembly election. Abhi to mahal banao, narrative banao. Try and win the battle of perception. Is that what this is about?
Absolutely. That's what it is about. At this point,
no, about both. It is about what is true, and it is about communicating that truth to the people, Rahul. It is about both the things. It's about knowing what is true, and it's about communicating it. You asked, but logo ko ye kaise samajh aayega? Thankfully, we have a Rahul Kanwal, we have an India Today, we have many good channels who are willing to show the truth. The fact that there is a Sharath Reddy who was called the kingpin by ED only of this so-called Sharab Ghotala, जिससे 6 बार पूछा गया कि अरविंद केजरीवाल को जानते हो, he says no, मैंने तो कभी मिला ही नहीं हूँ. But suddenly when he gets the bail, he turns an approver and says कि मुझे याद आ गया. And after that he donates 55 crores. So these points today, and it is not being reflected probably in your data, which I just said earlier, क्योंकि ये 3-4 दिन पहले आया है.
Okay.
चुनाव 2 महीने दूर है राहुल. By that time, दूध का दूध, पानी का पानी पूरी तरह से हो जाएगा कोर्ट पर भी और सड़क पर भी.
Shazia, you've been in the AAP. You know that when it comes to communications, they're definitely sharper than the Congress, right? Maybe not necessarily at the level of the BJP, but sharper than the Congress for sure. The argument that Jasmine makes is that we've got 2 months. जब तक दिल्ली में वोट होगा, तब तक हम माहौल बना देंगे. We'll explain who this Sharad Reddy is and how he didn't know Kejriwal after becoming approver. He suddenly is buying bonds only for the BJP.
So optics matter, definitely. And when people learn that during COVID epidemic, Kejriwal was actually using sarkari paisa and government money to furbish his house and used 70 crores. I mean, his image was dented in a very big way. So every time they said, and people play it again and again, you see the kind of Arvind Kejriwal's bites that are being used when he used to say, we will not take any bangla, we will not take any security, we are not here to take salaries. So all that is being used and people remember it. People don't have such a short memory. So narrative matters. Here is a man who spoke about being anti-corruption. Here is a man who had people who said things against Lalu Prasad Yadav and Praful Patel and Sharad Pawar and Rahul Gandhi. And here is a man who's using all of them to come defend him on the stage. And you know who are his biggest supporters now? But not quite. If you see any of the protests, none of the parties have really joined in. Because people will not forget how Arvind Kejriwal belittled them, mocked them, and vilified them.
Okay,
so that
I want to come to the next question. Who will benefit from Kejriwal's arrest? Okay, so let's look at the responses to this question first in Delhi and then pan-India. AAP and the India Alliance will get sympathy, say 31% of the overall voters. The Modi government gets sympathy for its war on graft, say 48% of the respondents. Amongst opposition voters, 43% say AAP will get sympathy and the India Alliance will get sympathy. Modi will get support for graft, say 39. That's as far as the mood in Delhi is concerned. Now let's look at the mood pan-India. 39.2% of the overall voters say AAP and India Alliance will get support. Now interestingly, and this thread has emerged in question after question, in Delhi only 31% of the voters said that AAP and India Alliance will get sympathy. Across the rest of the country, 39% say the same thing. So in 8% gap, 8% more people sympathetic towards India Alliance and the AAP outside Delhi than they are in Delhi. That is, for me, at least from my lens, something which is very, very interesting and intriguing. 42% of the respondents say Prime Minister Modi will get support for the war on graft. And 53.5% of NDA voters say Modi government will get support for its war on graft. I want to go across to Yashwant Deshmukh. Once again, the mood pan-India, more sympathetic towards AAP and the India Alliance on this question of whether he'll get sympathy than it is in Delhi. Is that a good thing for AAP or a bad thing? If it's about winning moral battles, then it's a good thing because you win a moral fight, right? But if it's about actual votes, your voters are here, your own voters seem more irked than people who are never going to vote for you.
Well, yeah, it's quite intriguing and interesting at the same time, Rahul, because, the Aam Aadmi Party support base or vote bank is completely made up of what you can say is the ex-Congress vote bank. So, obviously, Congress and the AAP support base is at loggerheads as far as Delhi is concerned. But outside Delhi, somehow the rest of the opposition leaders and their support bases, they see Aam Aadmi Party or the case of Arvind Kejriwal as a cause to say something or make something out of it, because their vote banks are not contradicting to each other. So there is a better gelling of the opposition votes on this issue outside Delhi, but within Delhi, where AAP and the Congress vote banks are at the loggerheads, at crossroads, at contradiction with each other, there is a different kind of a scene.
Shazia would probably be happy कि जिसने वोट नहीं देना वो जो मर्जी सोचे क्या फर्क पड़ता है, जिसने वोट देना है वो खिलाफ है. Because Jasmine Shah is wondering, should I be happy, should I be unhappy? But Shazia would largely be happy.
He's the CM of New Delhi, right?
Yes.
He's the CM of Delhi, right? And Delhiites have been the victims of Kejriwal's politics. His flip-flopping, his mercurial methods, and now corruption. It's all for everybody to see. So this is very damning, I feel. It's a huge indictment. And I think if he loses ground here and his credibility is reduced, I think it impacts his politics in a big way. How do you now mobilize your voters and your cadres? Will they be, if the credibility runs low? I mean, how do you go ahead with this?
Okay.
Because this was your Karmabhumi. This is your epicenter. This is where your voters and your strength comes from.
Jasmine Shah, how do you see this?
This dharti doesn't believe in it.
In the universe of voters who are not supposed to vote for you, because that's pan-India, not Delhi. You're largely a Delhi, Punjab, to some extent Gujarat phenomena. In the universe of voters where AAP is not directly on the ticket, there is more sympathy for you than there is in the universe of voters who are supposed to vote for you. ये अच्छी बात है कि बुरी बात है, पहले ये बता. How do you see it?
Rahul. No, Rahul, I think there is something off about this data. As I said, what we are seeing on the ground is completely different. But I find it very funny that today Shazia Ilmi is worried about कि आपके कार्डर के मनोबल का क्या होगा, आप लोग ग्राउंड पे वोटर को कैसे लेके आएंगे. I will only request Shazia that you should now be worried about the clear perception that is forming in the minds of BJP voters. Our voters are not going anywhere. They know that Arvind Kejriwal ने स्कूल ठीक किए हैं इसलिए वो जेल में है. उसने मोहल्ला क्लिनिक बनाया इसलिए वो जेल में है. फ्री बिजली दे रहा है इसलिए जेल में है. मोदी जी कभी ये नहीं करेंगे. But your voters are asking कि इसलिए हमने मोदी जी को वोट दिया था कि सारे विपक्ष के नेताओं को जेल में डाल दो. एक फर्जी मुकदमा कर दिया where you have no evidence. Your own donor is giving a statement and then you are imprisoning Arvind Kejriwal. Have you delivered on today, Rahul? It is the eve of election. BJP, are they talking about the work that they have done? Are they talking about schools, education, healthcare? No. They are talking about आज ईडी की रेड मैंने यहाँ पे डाली. आज हमारे today Goa's आम आदमी पार्टी unit has been raided. Today I believe CM Pinarayi Vijayan's daughter has been summoned or raided. ये हो क्या रहा है देश में? Is this how Mr. Modi wants to build his narrative to the people and to BJP voters? I think you need to be worried about the fact that today BJP voters feel enough is enough. We need to put a stop to this dictatorial regime.
How do you know what BJP voters feel?
Sanity in our democracy.
Sir, if you say this is what our voters
Jasmine,
feel.
I'm very happy you're not a pilot, I'm so glad because you clearly don't know the direction. You're supposed to fly somewhere to one direction and you just take it somewhere else. Jana tha, Japan pahunch gaye, Cheen samajh lena. So don't do that. Stick to the question. Don't run away. I mean, you can't fool all the people all the time. Delhi is a nerve center. You've lost credibility. It's Delhi voters which have made you who you are. And your basic principal challenger is BJP because Congress has come to terms with you in Delhi. And Congress deep down hates you. It's just that BJP is a bigger enemy. So you also know that. And everybody knows that. Let's not pretend and mince words here. For heaven's sake. The entire excise ghotala, this entire thing was flagged first by Congress. So Mudit also knows that, but poor thing doesn't know what to say.
Can I add something about Delhi?
Yes, Mudit, say, Mudit, are you concerned that you're getting washed out in this battle between AAP and the BJP?
So let's understand this. AAP is an alliance partner in Delhi, number one. Look at the vote percentage of BJP in last MCD and assembly election. They got 40% in both elections. But it is also true in 2019 parliament election. Hold on. Parliament election, they got 55% vote. And one of the reasons was they could increase their vote was because there was no alliance between our party and Congress. So people thought that neither our party nor Congress candidates are going to win. But this time,
even
it is
with the combined vote share, BJP
can you give me just 2 minutes to complete and then you can just say what you want to say? So when you go on the ground right now, there's complete synergy between both parties. Both of them, we are fighting a bigger evil, which is Mr. Modi. We are fighting an authoritarian regime. And this has sunk in all the cadres of Congress as well as our party. And there's complete synergy on the ground. And BJP is in for a run for their money. And we will probably win all 7 seats in Delhi.
I want to show up. One second.
Right now.
That's what you're saying. Let's look at the data. Can we just have the vote share worm, please? I just want to show our viewers. Even if there is seamless transferability, by which I mean that every voter of the Congress is willing to vote for an AAP candidate if an AAP candidate is standing on that seat, and every voter of the Aam Aadmi Party is willing to vote for the Congress candidate if a Congress candidate is fighting on that seat, then what's the scenario? In the last Lok Sabha elections, there was 41% vote share that the AAP and the Congress had. The BJP had 57. Remember when I interviewed the Home Minister at the conclave, that's what he said. We are already above 57. So it doesn't matter what happens. Even if there is perfect transferability, they're only at 41. The problem for the BJP would be that if the image is not like this, if it is lesser, because in 2014, the BJP had 46% of the vote share. At that time, the Congress and the AAP together, if there was seamless transferability, had 48. So if it's 48 versus 46, that's a tight battle, because even if there is some fragmentation, it is still close. But if it is 57 versus 41, then it doesn't matter. Even if there's perfect transferability, it makes no difference. Amitabh Tiwari, how do we gauge before the 4th of June, when we'll ultimately know, what's your best sense? Looking at past data, how much transferability is there likely to be, and is the BJP 50 plus on most seats? If it is, then it doesn't matter what AAP and Congress do, it's game over already.
It all depends upon the amount of swing which the Aam Aadmi Party and the Congress Party are able to get from the BJP, or the amount of sympathy and how much votes they are able to pull. Like we've seen in the earlier PSC, if they are able to pull 6%, because BJP is not 50% plus on all seats. So if they are able to pull 6%, then they will be able to win, or they are likely to be able to win 2 seats. So it becomes 5-2. However, as you are seeing that in all the questions, it seems to be good news for the opposition versus Delhi. However, we have to keep in mind that the proportion of BJP or NDA votes at a pan-India level is only 43-45%, whereas in Delhi, the proportion of NDA votes is 57% in a Lok Sabha election. That is why we are seeing the difference. And the first question also, I think, will be worrisome for the BJP, because only 48% people are saying that Kejriwal has been arrested because he is corrupt. 1/5 of NDA supporters also saying that it is vindicative, or because he has emerged as a threat to the BJP, whereas the vote share of BJP is 57%. So it already indicates a swing away from the BJP on the corruption plank if this question is taken into consideration. So it all depends upon that.
Okay, so there are some interesting themes, Yashwant Deshmukh, that we've picked up for the next PSC. There is electoral bonds, there's president's rule, there are cases on BJP leaders or non-BJP leaders who joined the BJP. So there's enough material. The good thing about election season is that there is just so much flow of information, so many issues. So the worrying has to be done by the likes of Jasmine, Mudit and Shazia. If you have no skin in the game yourself, you know, humne to inse bhi gali khani, unse bhi gali khani. So it doesn't really matter who ultimately wins. But if you have no skin in the game, there's a lot of interesting analysis, insights and data crunching that you can do, which is what we hope to do on the political stock exchange. The netas can fight it out, duke it out, try and win the narrative, convince voters. We'll just sit back and do the commentary and give you the analysis. So we'll be back with the next political stock exchange. I hope you enjoyed this much. This one, thank you very much, Yashwant and the C Voter team for that data compilation for us. We'll keep doing this.